Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about why risk assessments fail in real workplaces and why many documented risk assessments unfortunately become nothing more than a paperwork exercise. Throughout my experience conducting workplace inspections and investigations, one of the most common issues identified is not the absence of risk assessments, it is that the risk assessments that exist are often ineffective, generic, outdated, or disconnected from the actual work being performed. Many organizations have folders full of documents, procedures, and checklists, but when you speak to workers on the ground, they may not even know the risk assessment exists or understand that controls identified with it. A risk assessment should never simply be created to satisfy compliance requirements. It should be a practical, documented document that generally assists workers and management to identify hazards, access risks, implement controls, and improve workplace safety. One of the biggest reasons risk assessment fail because they become thick and a flick exercise. When, what I mean by this, documents are completed quickly, copied from previous templates, or developed without meaningful consultation. This creates a false sense of security because while the paperwork may appear compliant, the real workplace risks are not being properly managed. Another major issue is generic assessments. I've seen in situations where the exact same risk assessments has been used across multiple work sites despite completely different hazards, environments, staffing levels, and operational risk. A meaningful risk assessment should reflect the actual work environment and operational conditions workers face every day. Risk assessments also fail when they are not regularly reviewed. Workplaces constantly change. Staff changes, environmental changes, workload increases, equipment changes, and new hazards emerge. If risk assessments are not reviewed following incidents, near misses, operational changes, or identified hazards, then the control may no longer be effective. Another common issue identified during inspections is where controls exist on paper but are not implemented in practice. For example, workers not trained in procedures, hazards not escalated or reported, poor supervisions, unsafe behaviors becoming normalized, PPE unavailable. These issues demonstrate that documentation alone does not make a workplace safe. What matters is whether controls are practical, implemented, communicated, monitored, and understood by workers. Consultation is another critical factor. Frontline workers are often the best people to ask or place to identify risks because they perform the task daily and understand operational changes. If workers are not consulted during the risk assessment process, important hazards and practical solutions can easily be overlooked. Another reason risk assessment fail is poor hazard identification. Sometimes organizations focus only on obvious physical hazards while overlooking psychological risks, occupational violence, fatigue, workload pressures, or environmental conditions. A good risk assessment should consider all reasonable and foreseeable risk. Importantly, risk assessments should also align with the hierarchy of controls. Too often, organizations rely heavily on administrative controls such as procedures and training, while failing to consider higher level controls like engineering solutions, redesigning work environments, or eliminating hazards where reasonably practical. One of the key lessons from workplace investigations is that safety systems should be dynamic and continuously improving. A meaningful risk assessment should be a living document, not something completed once and forgotten. Strong organizations regularly review controls, monitor effectiveness, encourage reporting, investigate incidents thoroughly, and involve workers in safety discussions. When workplaces take this positive approach, risk assessments become valuable tools that genuinely improve safety outcomes. To conclude, risk assessments fail when they become disconnected from real operational conditions, are not reviewed, are poorly communicated, or are treated as compliance paperwork instead of practical safety tools. A meaningful risk assessment should assist workers to identify hazards, understand risks, implement effective controls, and create safer workplaces. Most importantly, good safety management is not about producing paperwork, it's about protecting people. Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel for more discussions on workplace health and safety inspections, psychosocial hazards, or practical risk assessment. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.